Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast, brought to you by BuckeyeHuddle.com. Our signing day shows continue, our recruiting capsules. We are doing about 10 to 12 minutes on every kid that signs with the Buckeyes today. Big one. This is maybe the one. This is the one everyone's been waiting for. Jeremiah Smith, nation's top prospect, Chaminade Madonna, South Florida, signed with the Buckeyes. The drama is over. You can all relax. You can all take a deep breath. The Florida State visits, the Miami visits, the Florida visits, the Georgia visit. No, he didn't follow Dylan Raiola to Georgia because Dylan Raiola didn't even end up at Georgia. So he didn't follow Dylan Raiola to Nebraska either. He didn't follow his buddies to Miami, and he didn't go take the bag as people were speculating at Florida State. He is a Buckeye. Brian Hartline signs the nation's top prospect. Kevin, your thoughts?
It's about darn time is all I have to say there. And if there are not many kids that you want to go through all this drama, and, I use that term a little tongue in cheek but Jeremiah Smith being a generational type of player in my book is one of these players that you're willing to do this. Player who committed very early to Ohio State, made his intentions known that he wanted to go out and take some visits, which he did. At no point did he really ever, to our knowledge, give any false information that he was trending away or anything else. A lot of networks out there certainly reaped the benefits of keeping his picture and his name out there and writing all these stories about this. And, that's what happens. It's recruiting. That's how it works. But, when it's all said and done, he ended up sticking with his commitment after, giving some pretty good quotes on Tuesday about having money thrown at him and everything else by places, but wanting to go where he wants to go. And now we know that place was and is Ohio State.
Another huge pickup for Hartline. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. Jeremiah is the best wide receiver prospect I have ever seen at the high school level. I've watched a lot of guys the last 15 plus years. None of them, I don't think any of them check all the boxes the way Jeremiah does. This is a special player. He's got size, hands, speed, route running. He's a physical kid. He can beat you over the top, run after the catch. He's smart. He's hardworking. It's just unbelievable. This is actually a game I was at here against American Heritage where he wins. He essentially wins the game here. Bounces off a defender. All those guys chasing him are Division I athletes. Runs away from everybody to the house. I'm down there somewhere. I don't know if you can see me. Not in that shot, but I'm down there videotaping it. But he's just a special player. Red zone, almost unstoppable. I mean, look at him just go up with one hand and pull that in and bring it down. You can try and double him. It doesn't generally work. He finds ways to get open. And just the way he is able to push and stress defenses vertically at his size, it's 6'3", 220 pounds. It's very, very rare. I think of Julio Jones. I think of Terrell Owens. But Terrell Owens, it's as crazy as this may sound, Terrell Owens was not as natural of a pass catcher as Jeremiah is. Jeremiah's got some of the softest hands you'll ever see, but just an absolute freak of nature. And for my money, the best wide receiver prospect that Ohio State's ever signed, and the best wide receiver prospect I've seen in the last 15 years. So I don't normally put this type of hype on a kid, but I don't really see how he's not in the starting lineup next year, Kevin. I mean, am I crazy for that?
I mean, I think that if you look at things just from the top down and you look at the class that they have in terms of 23 and everything else, it is kind of crazy to say that. But then you look at the talent that Jeremiah Smith is and everything that he's capable of doing. How do you keep him off the field? I mean, that's really kind of the question at that point. I mean, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. at the time of us recording this hasn't made his announcement, but he's gone. I mean, Emeka Egbuka, is a different type of player in terms than Jeremiah. I mean, I think I'm still expecting him to go. So who is it that you're putting out there instead of Jeremiah. And I don't know. I mean, he's somebody that honestly could walk in and start at any program in the nation. Ohio State is just as deep as anybody, deeper than most people in terms of talented top receivers. There's not really a lot of just like hanging around in that room. So, I pretty much had already come to the decision that, you have to pretty much start him day one, in my opinion. And just kind of talking this through, I've solidified that thought.
Yeah, I think there's maybe two possible starting receiver combinations for Ohio State next year. I think one of them is if Emeka Egbuka, and neither of these include Marvin Harrison coming back. I just think that's a pipe dream. But if Emeka Egbuka comes back, what you'll probably have is Carnell Tate on one side, Emeka Egbuka in the slot, Jeremiah Smith on the other side, with the notion that maybe Emeka will rotate a little bit to the outside, and maybe this is the year Carnell Tate picks up some slot stuff. But most likely, I think you'll see Smith, Tate, Egbuka slot, with Brandon Inniss kind of being that fourth guy, along with maybe Noah Rogers as your fifth guy. The other alternative, if Egbuka goes pro, which I would have thought for sure a month or two ago he would, but the way that kind of his season ended and everything else, and how good of a receiver class this is in the NFL draft, maybe it is more realistic than we initially thought. But if he does leave, I think, Inniss slides into your slot role, and you have Tate and Smith on the outside, and then Noah Rogers is getting a lot of time, kind of rotating in there as well. I like Noah Rogers quite a bit. I like Bryson Rogers quite a bit. This is not a knock on those guys that I'm putting Jeremiah Smith in starting lineup. I just think he's that good. But I think next year's going to be fascinating because you've got this core of like 5 or 6 receivers that I think are all really, really good. And none of them are going to be draft eligible. If we assume Egbuka goes off to the NFL, you're going to have all these like first and second year guys. And so how exciting is that going to be? Whatever they do next year, it's like icing on the cake, because you're going to have them like all back the year after that. I mean, this is an exciting time, I think, even by Ohio State standards, as far as the wide receiver position goes.
Yeah, it's crazy just to think about what they have there, and the fact that we're not talking about Rogers, no relation, just goes to show what they have. And, we haven't necessarily seen the end of movement and everything else. We don't know what the class of 22 may end up doing. But, when you sit there and you see Jeremiah Smith and you see, the guys that he's signing with today as well, in terms of this class of 24, I mean, it's crazy just the amount of young talent that Ohio State has. And it's going to be a lot of work out there for, these guys to try and separate themselves from the pack, so to speak, to be able to get those minutes. I mean, obviously, we did have the opportunity to see Carnell Tate this year. We got to see little glimpses of Brandon Inniss, but I don't think anybody really, short of Emeka, if he does come back, has much of a resume to lean on and say, well, I know that I've got my spot. And I think that, just some of the battles that are going to happen at practice between these receivers and the defensive backs that Ohio State have are going to be absolutely epic.
Yeah, I think we'll see some more rotating next year too. I think they kind of stuck with their core guys this year, especially when Egbuka was healthy, and you've lost a lot of that veteran presence. Julian Fleming has transferred. We assume Marvin's going to go pro. Egbuka may go pro. So you're left with this just awesome rotation of young players. I think it's very exciting if you're a fan to kind of watch this develop here over the next 12 months. But, with Jeremiah specifically, I don't think they'll play him in the slot, just because I think they've got guys, whether it's Egbuka coming back, Brandon Inniss is a stud, Bryson Rogers is a heck of a player. I think they'll be fine with that. I know they like to cross-train guys, but I just think you just put him outside and he becomes an instant vertical threat and an instant just red zone matchup problem. With him and Carnell Tate on the outside, I just don't know how you match up with that from a vertical perspective. You can't. I mean, you only got 2 safeties. You can't. So if you're going to play 2 deep safeties or a lot of cover 2 to try and avoid that, well, you're going to get the ball run down your throat. So I think this is setting up very well for the Ohio State offense to be able to spread the field vertically, horizontally, helping the run game. I just think Jeremiah, the different things he does opens up so many things for your offense to have a talent like this. So be excited. This is, again, the number one ranked player in the country, according to many services, and the number one receiver in the country, according to everyone but ESPN. What are you doing, ESPN? What are you doing? Hard for me to square having Julian Fleming, the number one overall player in the country, and Jeremiah Smith, not even the number one receiver in the country. But that's another conversation for another day. Big time get for the Buckeyes. So we'll be back here soon with some more capsules as the signings roll in. But the Buckeyes signed the crown jewel of their class, Jeremiah Smith Jr.